Let's get in the kitchen and cook for the family. I am making Cuban pork bowls for dinner tonight. And I started off with a pork shoulder roast. I've marinated it. I'll put the recipe down in my description box on the flavorings that I used to marinate. And I always start my roasts by searing both sides. We really want to lock in that flavor. I love cooking with roasts, and I don't always want to do traditional roast type of dinners, but there is so much you can do in feeding a crowd, especially with a inexpensive roast is absolutely the way to go today. With the way the prices are in the store, you really need to learn how to feed a crowd using a roast. I like to add my dehydrated onions. I have them in the pantry. I might as well use them. These are also dehydrated. Is it said like shishito? I have to see it in front of me and I don't have it right now, so I'm not even sure how it's pronounced, but they're the ones where it's like out of every so many, one might be spicy. I'm just doing this for flavor. We don't actually eat the peppers in this type of a dish. I just wanted to add it for some flavor. And then I'm going to go ahead and add in the rest of the marinade to just simmer with that pork roast on 300 in my oven. I believe this cooked somewhere between 3 to 4 hours. And because I have it and it adds good flavor and it makes it look just awfully pretty when it comes out of the oven. Not a necessary step, and you could use fresh if you wanted to. I'm adding some lemons, limes, and orange slices. There are those same type of flavors within the marinade that I'm using, which is why I decide at times to use my dehydrated citrus for meals like this. So again, that's going to go into the oven, 300 degrees. And I'm going to make some rice, or I'm sorry, no, this was Cuban beans. And one of the hacks I have is freezing my garden fresh chives, green onions, things like that in ice cube trays, and I put olive oil in, and I can have it, and to make a dish like this. It's a good way to preserve my olive oil and of course my garden herbs. What meal is complete in my house without diced onions? Not very many. So we're going to go ahead and saute some diced onions. A little bit of fresh garlic's going to be minced in here as well. And again, cooking up a couple cans of beans and just adding some really good flavor is very cost efficient for a large family as well. I like my beans a little spicy, so I put in some red pepper flakes. I am out of my freeze-dried cilantro, and I do have some panic feelings going on, but I have some cilantro from Thrive Life back when I used to be a consultant. Some Mexican oregano. I highly suggest if you like to cook dishes with, the Spanish, Mexican type of cuisines, definitely get you some Mexican oregano. It is so good. Some cumin goes in there. Again, I don't measure, so I apologize if you're somebody who really needs to follow a recipe. I'll do my best down in the description box, but I just kind of throw everything into a pot usually, and I've learned just what we like and what we don't. Those are freeze-dried chilies, green chilies, again from Thrive Market, that I'm just trying to use up some of those items. I have a freeze dryer now, so I'm trying to use up some of their items. I absolutely love their green chilies. I'm going to add in a splash of lime juice, of course, if you had any fresh. I didn't have my limes at this time that I ordered from Azure, so I always keep a couple bottles of lime and lemon juice on hand for cooking. A little bit of red wine vinegar helps to sort of just add that, zing that you otherwise don't get. Now, you don't have to do both lime juice and red wine vinegar, but the red wine vinegar does add a bit of a depth of flavor that you kind of would miss out on if you didn't. And then some salt and pepper. You could always taste it later to see, if you need to add more. And of course, our black beans. I did not drain my black beans because this batch of black beans, I must have added too many to my jar because they are awfully thick and there's not a whole lot of liquid in the jars, so there was no need for me to drain them. However, that would be a personal choice if you decide to drain it or not. Because I didn't need to drain my beans, I did add some additional water, so that way, especially since I've added some dehydrated and some freeze-dried foods to this, that needs liquid in order to rehydrate. So I just wanted to add in a little bit of that moisture that had been lost, and I'm going to cook this on low for really only the 20 minutes or so. You're just kind of simmering and letting everything come together towards the end of when you know, and a bay leaf. Towards the end of when you know your roast is getting done. So this is going to simmer while I also cook white rice to have with my Cuban bowls as well. So give everything a stir, and all of the wonderful, flavorful ingredients will come together. This is probably one of my daughter's favorite meals. When she opens the lid to that pot and she sees the beans, she gets very excited. I don't know how I got so lucky to have a daughter who just absolutely loves beans and vegetables. I remember her being 4 years old asking and requesting for Brussels sprouts with her dinner. She's always been adventurous with trying new foods, and I absolutely love that. But I have a kid on the other side of the spectrum too, who is an absolute fussy, selective, picky eater, whatever you want to call them. So I tend to have to meet in the middle. So after it's simmered for quite some time, 20 minutes or so, you can see how it just all comes together so beautifully. And this is really one of those types of side dishes that you want to pour over rice. And it's so hearty and so delicious. We absolutely love these beans. So let's make our plate. I'm gonna start with adding some basmati rice to my bowl. I absolutely love basmati rice, and I do carry and keep other rices in my pantry, but I'll be honest, basmati is the one that I really resort to the most. If you have troubles with your rice constantly sticking with each other, I suggest you using basmati. I don't find that I have that issue when I use that rice. You still give it a good rinse, but other types of rice like jasmine and long grain tend to be more of a softer, I don't want to say mushy, but I think you know what I mean. And look how tender and fall apart this pork is. Absolutely delicious. It's been marinating in a wonderful, wonderful marinade full of flavor. And it's been cooking not all day, quite frankly. I think it was 3 to 4 hours, but still, it smells wonderful and it tastes amazing. This can definitely feed a crowd when you have your filler foods like rice and beans. You can really stretch this meal. And there are the beans. I'm going to give them a good stir, and we love just loading up on beans in this house. None of us really have any issues with beans. I don't know if it's just because we eat them all the time. I'm not really sure, but we absolutely love them. Now, in the back behind my beans, I have small diced sweet potatoes, and that's going to go into my Cuban bowl as well. The diced sweet potatoes are actually from Azure Standard, and I'll buy a bowl I'll buy a package of them frozen every now and again just to keep in the freezer. I am growing my own sweet potatoes, and so I'm hoping I'll be able to fill my freezer with my own sweet potatoes here very soon. We're going to top it with a little bit of salsa, and I don't believe I show this, but I do actually add in some mango off to the side as well, which is pretty common in Cuban bowls. So I really hope you give this recipe a try. I will have it down in the description box, and if you try it, let me know how much your family loved it. I'll see you next time.